Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about the new force feedback, and I've finally come to my conclusions, and it's probably not what you're expecting. So basically I've been spending a lot of time trying to get some decent settings together on the new force feedback, and I've been having a really tough time trying to do it. I just can't seem to get the force feedback to do what I want it to do. So I decided to do something a little bit differently, and make no mistake, this video is not about trying to promote our own force feedback solution or anything like that. This is just me purely as a Forza fan trying to enjoy this game and making the most of the hardware I have. So without further ado, we're going to jump into the advanced settings so I can show you what I'm talking about. What I've done is I've just gone back to bare bones basics, back to the heart of the force feedback, and disabled all the extra fancy stuff and just purely focused on the mechanical trail and see how well it can respond in certain situations in cars, and does it give a realistic enough experience on its own. Because if this part isn't right, the force feedback just doesn't quite feel right when you add everything else on top of it. So the car we're going to be using today is this R31 Skyline. It's got a pretty bombed engine in it, so we're pushing about 628 kilowatt, and this is a really fun smooth car to drive. It's on stock tyres, it's got some pretty fat rubber on the back, with not too much on the front, so it swings back from high angles pretty well. But it's a really fun car to drive, and this is the sort of thing that I like driving on Forza, so that's what we're going to use to test today. So we're just going to jump straight in, and first test we're going to do is just park up here in a good open space, and we're just going to turn the wheel to full lock, and then we're going to slowly accelerate and see if the game force feedback, if it's accurate enough to turn the wheel back to center and make the car drive in a straight line. So let's give it a try. Even driving up to 10 kilometers an hour, it doesn't seem to have any effect on the steering whatsoever. So now we're going to do the same test on the custom force feedback, and I'll just quickly show you guys. This is the torque curve we're using, so we've completely turned off the pneumatic trail and we've just got this pure lateral force or mechanical trail curve that's going to be applied through the force feedback. So very similar to what we just had in the game force feedback. Oops, cancel that, and we'll just jump straight back to the game. So just turn this to full lock, and let's see what happens. Have a look at that. As soon as the car starts moving, the wheel just responded to it instantly. Let's give it one more go. So even at 10 kilometers an hour, the game force feedback didn't want to make the wheel self-align at all. And this is just straightening up. It's making the car want to accelerate so much easier when there's no friction on the front tyres. As you can see, the aligning force there is just night and day difference. Okay, so this next test, we're just going to drive up to about 100 kilometers an hour. We're just going to pull the handbrake and let the car sort of snaky to a stop and see how the force feedback handles those conditions. So we get some pretty wild oscillations. We'll just do this a couple more times. So now we'll just do that exact same test, but now we're using the custom force feedback from MUL. So do that one more time. So as you can see, the wheel is remaining quite smooth while it's following those aligning forces coming through the steering. For our next test, we're just going to drive at low speed and we're going to kick the clutch and send the rear tyres out from underneath it, and we're just going to get a little bit of a power oversteer happening and just see if the game can self-steer the car and maintain control. Do it a couple more times. And you guessed it, now we're going to do that test with custom force feedback. So as you can see, the aligning forces from the custom force feedback just seem to be way more in tune with what the car's doing and much more natural feeling when we're doing this. Okay, our next test is going to be a drift transition without touching the wheel, and we're going to see how smooth and how flowy the force feedback is going to be as the car's rotating and changing directions. This is a good test for those that might think I'm clipping the force feedback and getting wild oscillations. I haven't touched the force feedback settings and the wheel just is very slow to rotate. Right, just for this test I'm going to boost up the force feedback just so it will rotate faster. Okay. Now we're going to do that same test with our custom force feedback, and I'm just going to drop that force feedback scale back down to exactly where I had it before. Now those adjustments were just purely on the wheel, but for every other test I've done, the wheel settings have remained exactly the same. That previous test on the standard force feedback was the only one where I've actually increased the force feedback scale on the wheel itself to try and get it to rotate faster. But I've just dropped that back down now, so let's see what happens on our custom feedback. I don't know about you guys, but I know which one felt a hell of a lot smoother and more natural to me. What do you guys think? That's going to wrap the video up. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.